So what's up, man?
Not much. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's great to have a chat. It's been a while actually since we had a chat.
Yeah, it's been a good while, hasn't it?
What are you making of all this COVID-19 crack?
It's crazy, man. Like, to be honest with you, like, we've never experienced anything like this before. Like, me and Adam are only talking. Like, everything that I'm used to, like, that's normal for us. Like, college, that's off at the moment. Training, the gym's closed. So
Yeah,
there was a few days there at the start where we were like, what are we going to do with ourselves, But it's just like, as they say, you just need to adapt to these things. So we've been belting out like the weights and the running. That's pretty much all
yeah.
we've
I
been
was gonna
doing.
say, have you been doing much training at home?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Like we've been joking. I'm saying we're all gonna come back like 2 weight divisions heavier. I've been checking the weight. Like I'm getting a little bit heavier, but I'm doing all right. So it's all good.
I haven't stepped near the scales now in a while since all this kicked off.
Yeah. Best to stay away
Since
with
the
that.
Euros has been off, I've just stayed away from it. Been like, okay, we'll just park that. So, but I hope I'd say I'm not too heavy. Like
Yeah,
maybe a kilo or
sure.
two.
Like to go up a couple of kilos is fine. Like provided that once everything kicks off again. Do you know what I find? Actually, it's a funny thing with me. When I start back sparring, I find the weight falls off me. Like genuinely, like because like
Yeah,
we
yeah.
fight pretty
I could do the
intense,
same.
And
Yeah.
as soon as the sparring kicks off again, when we're sparring 2-3 times a week, I'm just like I'll be stepping on the scales and I'll be like, geez, like the weight's really getting low, and that always helps coming up to the fights, as you can imagine, like.
Did you have a fight scheduled? Was
Yeah,
it
so
cancelled? Was
yeah,
it?
I was supposed to be on a Cage Legacy on the 14th of March against Sean McConnell. That was going to be a really good fight,
Good
man.
fight. Good fight, yeah.
Yeah,
Really good.
because like Sean's background is it's like WTF Taekwondo. So for anyone that wouldn't know, like obviously we come from ITF Taekwondo, it's more traditional, and he would have been Olympic style Taekwondo, which is predominantly kicks. So that fight was supposed to go ahead. So that got confirmed like before Christmas. So I knew
Yeah.
that fight was going to happen for a long time. So put in a serious like training camp, like the guts. I think it was pretty much just 12 weeks, like because as soon as I found out about it, I started training. And then the week of, my dad was saying to me, he was like, "Listen, like I think this might be cancelled." And obviously, I was being a bit stubborn. I was like, "Nah, I'm grand," like but
Yeah. Yeah.
like it's gonna go ahead, no problem. And then on Thursday, the Thursday before the first government announcement was made, it was like they were advising people not to go ahead with gatherings over 100 people. So then, like me and Adam listened to that, and we were like, "Oh no, this isn't looking too good." And then the guy who organises the thing, Declan Kenna, he had up then at about, it would have been about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. He was like, "Sorry guys, unfortunately you have to cancel." It's just one of them things, can't be avoided.
So
And
late, wasn't it though?
like yeah,
Like you
so
got
like at the
that
time,
far in the week, like.
exactly. Now the lucky thing for me was I didn't have to cut weight for that fight,
Okay.
because the rules are a little bit different down here in the Republic of Ireland. So I was meant to be doing a 70 kilo same day weigh-in. That's what the fight was contracted for. So like I remember checking my weight on Thursday morning and being like 71, and I only need to be 70.5 by Saturday. So I wasn't
It
cutting or
is.
anything like that, which did make it that little bit easier.
He didn't go straight for the pizza then. Did you see that with Mick Conlon? As soon as
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
he was straight in
Do
with
you
a
know what?
pizza.
We went straight to Nando's actually.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that was good.
Closed
That was
now.
good. Huh?
It's closed now.
I know. Yeah, yeah. I seen that they're only doing collections. I rocked up to Nando's in Blanchardstown there the other day, expecting to sit in, and I was like, "Oh, collections only." I was like, "This is when it's getting serious when Nando's is closing down." Did you see McDonald's closed down there?
Yeah, yeah.
Only the other day on Monday, wasn't it?
At Supermax as well. Supermax is
Mad,
closing as
man.
well.
That's
Domino's.
serious.
Domino's closed.
Domino's are still doing deliveries.
Delivery. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so
Not
they're
not
keeping us
too bad.
going. Yeah, so it's all good.
Uh, for anybody actually, like most people, I suppose it's going to be fairly similar to Adam's story. So anybody
Hmm.
who listened to the first episode of the podcast might
Yeah.
kind of know the situation. But how did you start Taekwondo and how did you get into it?
So basically, we started Taekwondo in 2001. So like, I remember thinking just before we started, like, I don't think I was even quite 5. I was like 4, and I was almost
Okay.
turning 5. So I don't even remember my first day or anything like this. It was the sort of thing where my dad wanted, he always had a keen interest in martial arts and he wanted to get us in. I think he was more leaning towards the lines of boxing, he maybe about putting us into boxing, and I don't think my mom was too gone on that idea. So they sort of found karate / taekwondo. They said they'd settle on one of them things. And the taekwondo club had recently opened up around where we were living in Swords at the time. It wasn't that. It was only about a year or two old. So my dad was like, grand, like, so he brought the three of us. And so again, it was mainly for Adam and Alex, my two older brothers, so they were really the ones I wanted to start. And then I think I was just sort of tagging along, at that point. And the instructor said he'd take me as well. So we did that for about 1 or 2 years. And, again, like, it was good training. Like, it was mainly just fun at that age, if you get me. And then we moved to Australia then. The whole family, we decided to up and leave. Like, my mom and dad were thinking about it for a while, and they said now's a good time. So we took a year out and went to Australia. We did a bit of taekwondo over there. That was actually Olympic style taekwondo that we did over there. It was a WTF. And again, all this time I had been playing football and doing taekwondo, and just, I always saw the two as fun. And I'm pretty much where it changed was when we came back to Ireland then after a year. And we started in Colester Taekwondo with Niall Jones, who, like, we're pretty much still with today with Niall. And that's when I really sort of fell in love with the sport. And, Adam would say the same. And, as we went up the grades and we started competing, and then I was like, I could really see a future in this sport. And that it really just took off from there. Me, Adam and Alex went right through, got to black belt. And then, I remember me and Adam having conversations years ago, and he used to be like to me, like, when you get your black belt, you're able to try out for this thing called the Irish team. And I remember being like, no way, like, that seems pretty cool. Like, and we watched a few YouTube, when we were getting big at the time, we were watching YouTube videos of competitions and stuff like that. And I think it was from pretty much that point on, about 2008, 2009, in and around black belt time, that we were like, yeah, definitely, I want to start competing on the national team. And then sort of just, for anyone that knows the story, sky was the limit from there, Adam started competing first. Alex had to leave in cert and he went into full-time work, so he sort of dropped off then at that point. But Adam was the first one competing, so he would have went to Argentina, which was the World Championships, and then Sweden. You yourself, you're in Sweden.
Yeah, my first one.
And then he did New Zealand, which was another world. So I think what was big for me was, Adam had been away 3 times before I was even away once, because I wasn't able to with my age. And one of them tournaments in particular, I went with my dad to Sweden,
Yeah, it was massive.
Like, so I think looking back on it now, I was like getting the experience of doing them competitions without even having to do them and go through the tough defeats that, like, most of you guys would have had to go through, Like, I think for a lot of people, it was like they just sort of learned on the job. They'd go, maybe some things didn't go right for them, and then they'd come back to the drawing board in Ireland, and then they'd fix the things and then go away again. So it was a little bit of trial and error for a few years. But with the likes of myself and, like, a few others that came then after me, we had that experience without really knowing. And so then when we went to compete, we were sort of at that level straight away, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, because definitely I feel like when you go to a tournament, championships at that level, you do need the first one to kind of, at least the first one to kind of go, all right, this is what this thing is about. This is
exactly.
This is what
definitely.
a good level. This is what
a
good level looks
there's
like.
A few surprises or curveballs in there,
Yeah, it kind of, you end up looking and going, okay, that's what I have to be like if I'm going to win. And then, like you said, you go away, then you try and achieve that level. But I think Sweden was massive for you, like, to go to that one and to just see it, and even like whatever. Not even that, the fact of it wasn't just that Adam was coming back telling you what it was like to be that you were actually there. Like, you got to feel the atmosphere, like you were ringside, got to watch, saw people win some medals. So I think that was massive for you, like, to be
exactly.
Able. Like,
there's a funny one actually. I don't know if you know. There's a picture of
I've seen
Rich.
it. Yeah, Rich.
Have you seen that one? Just
that's
after. I'll try to put that up when I find it again. There's a picture of Richie Ford just after he won the Europeans, and, like, obviously all the Irish gang throwing him up, and I was just sort of like looking on in amazement, like, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And
It's a
all the
great
lads
picture.
slag
It's
me
a great
about that when
picture.
they're sort of like, that's where the inspiration came from, like seeing Richie win and being like, I want that, like, you know.
Yeah, that's a great picture. Yeah, there in the red
Yeah, it's
hoodie.
good.
Richie actually mentioned it in the podcast he did as well.
That's right. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
But like when you think about it, like it's actually one of them. It's almost like a light bulb moment, you know, where like you go away. Like fair enough, you hear about the national team and the trips away, and you hear about how good they are. But actually seeing it there and being at the competitions, like you know yourself, like the atmosphere when you walk into competition day on like the first day, and everything sort of just gets real. Then you're like, wow, this is the real stuff. Like, and then seeing the likes of Richie win and other people win, I was like, I definitely want that, you know?
Yeah. So I think then that kind of leads to then you ended up stepping out at your first European Championships and winning.
Yeah, Slovakia 2011. I went away again. So like looking
It's a
back,
very
like
short list of people who've done that, like of people who stepped
yeah,
out at the first championships and won. It's a short
very
list.
few, I think. Yeah. I know myself, Dylan Fitz, and I don't know, maybe one or two others,
Yeah.
maybe in Ireland. But basically, yes, Slovakia 2011. I was going over, you know, with you always have high hopes for yourself, but I remember being like, I'll see how this goes. If I go out first or second round, I won't be totally disappointed because I know that there's a learning curve involved. But I also see myself like going through a couple of rounds and maybe getting a medal. Getting a gold medal was maybe a bit of a stretch, you know.
Yeah.
But as
Yeah.
I started going through the rounds, I remember being like, I had a terrible first fight, you know, because I had a tough draw. I had Timothy Boss in the first round, and who went on to become a bit of a rival at that point. You know, we fought a good few times over the years, which was brilliant. But after I got through that first one, like, and we got sick after the fight and all. It was like my first international fight. It was my first time ever being on a plane to go to a taekwondo trip, you know, and just happened to be the Europeans. And so after that one, I remember being like, that's me pretty much done. And I was like, I'll go out for this second fight, see who I am. Scrape through that one. Then I was like coming into the third and I was like feeling a little bit better, got through that one, and then I was like, all right, I'm in the final now, I may as well just go all out, you know.
Might as well give it a go.
To catch it that year. Yeah, good year, very good year.
Obviously Adam won as well, so that then makes it even
That
better.
was a double bonus, like, you know. And he had been really pushing, like, and I think that was his fourth try at a championships, you know, and it was sort of like the perfect storm, you know. It came together, the both of us won. It was his last junior competition and my first junior competition. And you know, one thing I forgot to mention, we had started kickboxing that year as well. We were kickboxing in the March 2011. That's when we started with Robbie Haw, and you know, I found that our game took a massive jump when we started kickboxing, you know. And then we found that the blend between, so we were getting a lot of sparring from the kickboxing and then the skills from the taekwondo, and it was a great mix together, and that got us our 2 gold medals, and we were delighted with that.
Yeah, like that with the kickboxing. Do you think that it was just getting more sparring rounds, or do you think it was maybe some more different approach to getting a different approach of the tactics you might use in the fight, or was it just you just got in more rounds? That
definitely, I feel like the main thing was that there were more rounds being done than ever, you know. So instead of sparring once or twice a week, we were like up in the sparring to like four days a week where we're getting sparring in now. Obviously not all heavy days, but we were putting the gear on, you know, 4 or 5 times a week, which is a big thing. And second of all, I think the introduction of the points fighting was a big thing. You know, points started getting really big around then, especially people that were crossing over from taekwondo and kickboxing. And I found it just helped with that extra bit of sharpness. And you know, for the likes of the lead leg and blitzing and things like that, it was just gave you a little sharpness that wasn't just there yet in taekwondo. That would slowly come there in the next year or two after. But I think we just got there a little bit early, and that helped us get through a good few of the rounds over there.
Yeah. I think it was Slovakia as well. Was that the first one that your mum got to go to?
Yeah, that was her first international.
Yeah.
So I remember her saying after that, like, her heart rate was through the roof, like, especially when me and Adam were fighting, because, you know, what happened was, just, you know yourself, with the clash of how the schedules was happening with the competitions, I'd literally be on one ring, and then 2 minutes later Adam would be on another ring, you know. And they just kept having to go back and forth. And so that was a stressful tournament for them. So it was good to see them as well, and have them there for that moment, because that was a big one for us, you know. Like you said, it was the first time the both of us had one, so that was a big deal. Good to have the both of them there.
Yeah, so now like even obviously the Worlds in Ireland, having family there, it's the only
Of
time like
course.
my mum and dad or my sister, well my sister obviously has been on the team, but it's the only time my mum and dad have been at a tournament like
Yeah.
that. So to actually to win and have them there, like that's always
Exactly.
it's a great bonus.
Like it's without a question for me, you know, whenever anyone asks like favorite martial arts moment or anything like that, I find a lot of people struggle with that question. No doubt for me, 100% without doubt, the Worlds in Ireland, Worlds in 2017 that happened in Ireland. You know, even that trumps my
100%.
first win, my first kickboxing win. No way, like the Worlds in Ireland was a special one because it was the first time the Taekwondo had ever held the World Championships in Ireland. Like you said, all your family being there and your friends there, which was such a weird one, you know. Usually we're used to jetting off on a plane and going out to Ukraine or somewhere mad like that, you know. So to just go across the M50 to City West, that was a real strange one. And then on top of that, having yourself win 57, I won 63, Adam won 70, and Colin won 78. That's never been done before. And then we got the team sparring as well. That's record breaking stuff for Taekwondo.
That was the thing, like, yeah, it was it even made it even better. It wasn't the fact that I found like even just that I won, it was like the other three, like you and the other two lads won as well. It was just like, it was like, this is just unreal.
And it's funny, like I remember being I was going through the rounds and like I glanced to my right and I'd see you going through the rounds and I'd be like, Jamie's doing pretty well. I'd look to the left and I'd see Colin going through the rounds and like he's doing well. And then obviously I seen Adam up on the center stage and he was doing pretty good as well. And I was like, geez, we're all looking pretty good here.
Yeah,
and
I was
like
the exact same.
I was explaining that for anyone like that doesn't know about Taekwondo. Like for a Taekwondo competition, you know, there could be 10 areas going at the one time in a big wide arena, you know, and let's say the Saturday is usually always such a busy day and there's so many divisions on and it's just chaos. Like, so realistically, you're only focused on yourself, you know, because you can't be looking around seeing who's doing what, but just every now and then before I'd be going out, I'd throw a little glance and I'd be like, it's good to see the lads doing well. And that, I think that helped me as well, you know, like morally, it just helped everyone because, you know, I was looking around and seeing everyone else winning and I'm like, I may as well go out and do the same. So it was all good.
Yeah. So I remember after, I think it was maybe my first fight, I came back and I think you had what I was like, I said to you, I was like, did you go on yet? Yeah, through to the next round. And then Colin was sitting up in the corner. I was like, Colin, did you go on yet? Yeah, through to the next round. And he was like, oh yeah, and Adam's on there now next. It's like, oh yeah, go on the lads. We're
crazy. It was brilliant. Like, and
remember even
like you said, that's something I'll never forget. Like, you know.
Remember as well, they had the lunch break before the semi-finals.
That's
and then
right.
it was so I was on the ring in the corner, and then you were on one. So like you said, it was like 3 rings in a row, 3 semi-finals. Boom, boom, boom.
That was chaos. Yeah.
And on the video I have, it's like you hear people cheer like, "Well done, Jamie," and then like you hear like, "Well done, Ryan," and then "Well done, Colin." It's like boom, 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 3 rings in a row.
That's brilliant. It's like you said, not to my knowledge, I don't think anything like that has ever happened where like 4 people from the same country win gold medals in individual events and then take the team as well. So it was crazy. And then, like you said, to do that in Ireland then was extra special, you know.
Yeah, because even do you remember we were sitting in the warm-up area waiting for the finals, and the guy from the English chap came over and he was like, "Oh, how'd you get on?" I was like, "I'm in the final." And how'd you get on? I'm in the final. So how'd you get on?
Yeah.
All of us were in the final, and even he was like,
"That's it,
holy
exactly."
Shit. It was like, fuck. So like,
but like, I think you're the same with this one. I remember at that competition, that was the first time where, like, you know, not to blow the ego or anything like that, but like you had some younger kids coming up and asking you for photos, you know, and like I found that one a bit like, wow, this is mad, like, you know, because that had never happened to us before, you know. We're like little celebrities floating around City West, and don't get me wrong, I was loving that as well, like.
But like just for that little short bit of time, like you're king of the world, like it
was a golden week, you know. It was a golden week, and you know that's it's part of the reason why, like, after that week when everything settled down, then like, so that was October 2017, and I was thinking, like, you know, I was starting to think about next year, 2018, and what my plans were going to be. And I was thinking, you know, am I going to do the same again? Because first things first, I said to myself, I had to move up a weight division, because cutting down to 63 kilos, it was killing me. like when I remember back to the Worlds in Ireland, I remember being pretty on top of it, and like with 5 days out being like 70, and then got down to 63. And now I know to some MMA fighters out there, like 7 kilos in a week, they'll be like, that's not a whole lot. But when you're built like me, like tall and skinny, and then I'm not heavy as it is, and then happen to lose 7 kilos on top of that, it's like trying to bleed the weight out. So I really found that difficult. And it was coming to the stage actually where, like, because I had fought 63 a good few times, and it was starting to take the fun out of it for me a little bit. I was loving the fighting, but I was like, I'm not looking forward to this weight cutting thing. So I said, if I'm gonna do Taekwondo next year, I'm moving up to 70, and that was gonna be it. And then right around that time, so fast forward to November 2017, a month later, that's when I started in Team KF out in Swords with the MMA. And I remember thinking then, I'm probably going to take the year out in Taekwondo. Like, I had made no concrete plans. I didn't say, oh, that's it, I'm done with Taekwondo and kickboxing and I'm just going straight into MMA. I said to myself I'd give it a year. And then, yourself, it just sort of spiraled after that, and I started fighting, and, the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah, that's why Adam had kind of the same plan. So
yeah,
you were both kind of transition over to.
Exactly. Adam's was a tiny bit different to mine because he would have been really, really busy with college around that time as well. So I started in November. He got going around January 2018.
Okay,
so I had about 2 months ahead of him. And then during that time as well, he was very busy. He was doing his internship with like the Dublin team for GAA and stuff like that. So he was only getting down maybe once or twice a week, where I was sort of flat out 4 or 5 times a week. And it was one of the times I can't
remember. That's why you choke him out now, is it?
Yeah. I'm telling that story. It was a couple of months in, and because Taekwon-Do as well, he had joined similar enough to the same time as me and Adam, a little bit before us. So the three of us sort of all saw ourselves at the same level of grappling, me, Adam, and Taka. And Adam came down one night, and me and Taka trimmed him. We subbed him once or twice anyway. And then me and Adam were going home in the car, and he was like, that's it. And like he needed that. He knew to himself that if he wanted to get a good stab at this, he needed to put the work in and allocate the time for it. And he did that, and he's at a good level now. So I think that's something he needed.
You coached him up, like.
Yeah. We showed him the ropes, like, not like a few chokes to get you learning.
I'm sure he's going to appreciate you telling that story now, all right, as well.
Yeah. Well, I think he's told it before, so he knows it's just part of it now at this stage. He doesn't mind it. Yeah.
Was your man Taka meant to fight recently as well? Was he? He was meant to fight.
Yeah. So like similar situation.
Yeah.
He had 1 or 2 injuries at the start of this year, so he was never actually set to fight, but the injuries just sort of prevailed. And now, because the same thing with this whole coronavirus, it just has everything up in the air. No one has fights planned yet, or no one really knows what to do in terms of training. I would have liked him to get one in around February. Looking back now, in hindsight, that would have been a good thing. But I just said I'd hold off to this March 14th one, because I knew that was going to be a big fight, and it just came at a bad time, And look, we're here now, and hopefully, I'm hoping that everything's done with by May or June or something like that. Like at a push, maybe we might get there, and then it's just going to be right back to fighting. I'm not going to take the summer off. I'm going to go right through, because I'm seeing this as a bit of time off. And whenever this clears up, I want to get fighting again straight away.
Yeah, because the gym was flying, wasn't it? Like,
it was doing so well.
James
like, it still is, like, yeah.
Yeah.
But basically, so last year was a huge year for the gym. James Webb at the start of last year he won the Cage Warriors middleweight title. So like, it's for James, he's sort of like leading our gym from the front. He's competing at the highest level. He's he's knocking on the door to UFC. And then obviously there's Ian Gary, who you know as well. He's getting very popular here. Ian's 3-0. And like when you talk about prospects, he's one of the most talked about prospects in Ireland at the moment. And then underneath Ian, then there's Dylan Chuk as well. Dylan's back fighting now, like, and to be sparring with the likes of Ian, Dylan, and the rest of the Amis, like, it's amazing. Like, like I actually seen the improvements in my game over the last couple of months. It just, like, yourself, when you're training with high level people, you have to learn and adapt, and you're going to become that high level as well. So you're a product of your environment almost. That's how I look at it. But and then underneath the pro lads, there's a bunch of amateur fighters just waiting, and like a lot of them are young as well, like 17, 18, 19, and we're just all ready to get fighting and turn professional eventually someday.
And Chris was back.
Chris is back as well. Well, until this whole situation got messed things up, Chris announced his comeback for Cage Warriors, and that was meant to be Birmingham in April. Obviously, that's off now. But now I don't know what the plans with the UFC are, but like surely a lot of our thinking was if Chris got a win on Birmingham, surely it'd be, you know, the UFC would have snapped him up for the Dublin card in August. But because when you talk about pioneers, like he's been there from the get-go, like, you know, he's been there since day one.
One of them
was on the first wave of Irish MMA, so, you know, I think it'd be a shame not to have him on. Yeah.
And he's one of the few guys who would have came through like that, who would have been still fighting, and one of the few ones, I suppose, around there that wouldn't be that isn't signed with Bellator. So like,
exactly, yeah. Like, I think I don't think he ever had any fights with Bellator, but I think like he won the Cage Warriors middleweight belt a good few years back, and I think he's always just sort of had a strong connection with Cage Warriors, you know, because it's a solid route, and it's a very direct route to the UFC. So if you can get yourself a Cage Warriors title, you're either one or two fights away, or you're pretty much there. You're knocking on the door at UFC. So it's a good path to go. It's the path that I hope to go. And most of the like when I'm looking at Ian and I see the way that he's doing it, when I turn pro, like that's the same way that I want to do it now. You know, I want to have as many fights as I can. I want to get to Cage Warriors eventually, and, you know, hopefully when the time comes, snap up a belt, you know. But like obviously you need to prove it at amateur first. Like, so the rule basically in our gym is Chris gives you the nod to turn professional. You know, obviously, like I can't decide I want to go professional tomorrow. He gives you the nod. So after my last win that would have been Budo on the 7th of December, that was in Bolton. Chris was like, you know, I was sort of thinking, you know, I was like, this could be it after. And me and Chris had a good chat, and he was like, listen, I want you to finish college first before we decide to turn pro. And so I had a little think about it, and I was like, definitely that's the right call, you know. So I finished college in May. I'd like to have one more amateur fight, and provided that goes well, then turn pro in the summertime, maybe July or August. That's if everything went well. That's how I'd see it go. Yeah.
So what are you amateur? What's the record at the moment? 3-1.
4-1.
4-1. Or
4 wins, 1 loss. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not really like, it's a lot different to boxing amateur. Like, you don't. It's only
exactly. Yeah, like
if you had 10 amateur fights. If you had 10 amateur fights in MMA, like that's a lot, really.
Exactly. Like I did find that, you know, although like they are only amateur fights, they're 3-minute rounds, but like almost after every single fight you have, you'll pick up a niggle after, whether it's something with your feet or shins or something like that, you know, because the only real differences is between the amateur and pro, obviously the time between 3-3s and 3-5s, but also the fact that no knees to the head or elbows. But everything else is in, you know, you're walking in there barefoot, tops off, all that buzz. And like you're getting in there for a real fight with someone, you know. So after every fight, I was always like, oh, I've a little bit of a niggle here, a little bit of a niggle there. But, you know, you still just keep training and try to get as many fights in as you can. Like, in terms of amateur, I'm not too concerned about my record. Obviously, I'm going in there looking to win every single fight. But if it came to it where you had like a couple of wins, couple of losses, I'd see that as, you know, you learn from them and get all them mistakes out of the way before you turn pro, because you don't want any defeats as a pro, obviously, if you can.
But like that, when you go pro, this clean slate again. You're 0-0.
Exactly, you go back to 0-0.
So
yeah, like a lot of people, I think, are in a bit of a rush to turn pro. It's like amateur is like a blessing in disguise, you know. It's like you make all the mistakes. Like, obviously, there's a learning curve, like we said about the Taekwondo thing. Nobody goes away first time and wins. You know, it's similar enough with amateur MMA. Nobody comes out and just dusts everybody that they fight and knows pretty much everything there is to know about MMA. There's a lot of mistakes that you're going to make along the way. So make them at amateur level and bathe your feet. And then when it comes to turning pro, you should be at the level then. That's how I see it.
And would you expect to go straight into Cage Warriors when you turn pro, or do you think
probably not? No, like Cage Warriors, they rarely take people that would be 0-0. I know Ian jumped in, but that was a late replacement. You know, Ian was actually meant to fight on Cage Legacy, just a domestic Irish show, and then his opponent James's guy that he was supposed to fight pulled out, and Ian took that fight on like 8 days' notice. So you know that
was a war
for Ian. Say that again.
That was a war.
It was a war, yeah. And like for Ian, it was a bit of a risk because James like had a serious amateur career, you know, and James is a really good fighter. I rate him very high. And Ian went in there, you know, 8 days notice. Yeah, sure, you've been training, but 8 days notice to make your pro debut, that was risky, and it was a bit gutsy from Ian, you know, but like that's who he is. Like, you know, he jumped at them sort of opportunities.
Like you said, especially with the jump up in round length, like if you're prepared
exactly, from going from 3-3s to 3-5s. And like you said, it was an absolute war, you know.
Yeah, it's a great fight.
Yeah. I was actually cage side with Ian, like me, Chris, and Matt Black, a guy from the club. We did Ian's corner for that fight. And it was my first time ever being in the corner, like, and especially for a pro debut. And again, it was one of them things where I was a bit like
Sweden.
Like
Sweden all over.
I heard the clatters, you know, from both sides, and I was like, this is the real deal here. But like again, it all motivates me. So
do you find the buzz before an MMA fight is much different to the fight, but the buzz before a taekwondo fight?
Quite different now, I have to say.
I'd imagine so.
Yeah, like with taekwondo, do you know what I did actually the other day? I counted up, or I tried my best to count up all the fights between taekwondo and kickboxing that I had. I got to 260 something, in and around 260, right? So after all them fights, it became a thing to me where, like, you know, sure, like you still get the jitters and the nerves before every single fight, like that never goes away, but you almost go out with expecting, you know, what's going to happen, you know, how it's going to go. Not saying that you're going to win every single fight, but you know how it's most of the time going to play out.
You don't fear MMA, you don't fear getting hurt.
Exactly. So that's the first thing, you know, you're like, I'm going in here and I could get knocked out, you know, like knocked out cold. The second thing is, you know, I think there's something a little bit different to getting in the cage with another person, you know, and you hear that, like, that distinct thing when the door closes, it goes like click, click, like, and you're like, right, I'm in here now, you know, and, you know, it's like I'm either winning this fight, I'm going to lose it, or the ref is going to, you know, have to separate us and intervene. So it's a little bit like that sink or swim thing. And again, so sure, like the nerves are the same, but I get a real buzz off fighting in the MMA. So that really gets me going.
And the fight because you had a few K1 fights, is the buzz even different from K1 to MMA?
Even a little bit different. Now I found K1 was pretty good. Like that was a nice bridge to gap, you know, because I was like, I remember thinking, I'm not going to go straight from fighting taekwondo and kickboxing and then jump straight into MMA. I'm not going to do that. So I had a few ring fights with the K1. That was in about 2018, and they were great, you know. Again, so similar scenario. Like it's a fight night, walking out into the ring, in there with another person, and you're in there for like a couple rounds, not just 2-minute rounds. So the jumping in time was a little bit different as well. So the K1 fights were a great bridge to get between taekwondo and MMA.
But still not quite the cage.
No, that's like, it's one of them things. I had been training flat out for a good while, and it was funny. It was one of Adam's fights. Adam was over in Liverpool with Chris, and I was just in the house on a Friday, and I was going over to Adam on Saturday morning over to Liverpool to be there for his fight. And Chris texted me on the Friday night being like, would you like to fight next weekend? And I was like, yeah, definitely. And, you know, sort of being like, is this going to happen? You know, I was like, well, listen, you know, Adam's fight is on tomorrow. I'll see what the story is there. And went over the Saturday morning. Adam fought. He actually lost that fight, but, you know, what can you do? And we're in the hotel then afterwards, and we were just chatting away, and Chris said to me, he was like, oh, and by the way, you're fighting next Saturday. So I was like, okay. And just, you know, straight away, what hits you is like, am I ready? because
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
been doing all the training. I had the K1 fights. I knew that this was going to come eventually. And now it's like, before I know it, it's like, all right, it's next Saturday, So it's sort of like, have I done enough? What's my ground game like? What's my takedown defense like? All these things I started to question. But then I was like, listen, there's never going to be a time where you're like, yeah, I'm ready to go. So I was like, let's just get it done now. And I got the win. So I was happy with that.
Yeah. Well, like that, if it goes wrong, like you said, if it goes wrong maybe in Taekwondo, it's maybe you just lost. But if it can go wrong in MMA, you could be left sparked out. So
you could looking up at the lights, as they say. Yeah,
it's a bit different.
Put it brutally.
You haven't got the submission win yet, though, have you?
No, Jamie, I'm
I've seen
absolutely.
you've been close so many times.
I don't know if you've seen my last fight on Budo.
Yeah.
So like on the third round, I knew I was winning the fight, and he was a tough guy that I fought. So I was like, it's going to 3 rounds. So I was just sort of moving around, picking shots. He shot in for a takedown, absolutely picked me up and slammed me onto the floor. And he just sort of he charged in a little bit, and I had him in a triangle submission. So like I was on my back, and I had it locked in, and everything I did pretty much right. Like me and Chris talked about after, 1 or 2 small little things. Like I got the arm in. I didn't drag it across, which could have helped with the choke. I hooked his leg, made the angle. And I mean, I knew there was about 40 seconds left. So I said, I'm just going to empty here. And I was squeezing as hard as I could with my legs, because there's a little race between me, Adam, and Taka to see who can get the first submission win. No one has one yet. We have a bunch of KOs, but nobody has a submission win. So I was like, I'm going to be the first to get it. And the guy, I could hear him, like he was breathing like really badly, and his face went like quite red. Like, and I was like, he's probably going to go out, because he was a really tough guy. I didn't see him tapping. And then I heard the 10-second clapper, and my leg started to shake. So I got the worst shakes in my leg that I've ever got before. Like my leg started to tremble because I was squeezing so hard. And then the bell went. So I was like, look, I just missed it, but I was so close. Next time, maybe.
You're probably lucky it was the last round, because if it was to go out and fight another round with the shaky legs.
Oh, I could barely even stand after that. So
It
was sort of like a judgment call. I knew that this was the last round. So I was like, I'm just going to absolutely empty the legs here and try and finish him with the submission. But it wasn't to be. Next time.
Yeah, I think that's kind of, it's one thing that people, maybe if you haven't experienced it like that, you sometimes see if you're watching a UFC fight or a Bellator or whatever, and you see, and they're going for a submission, and there's the grappling, and there's a submission time, and then they get up and they're wrecked after. You don't really realize how much that is taken out of you, like just having to squeeze. Like it takes it out of the arms, can take it out of the legs. You're kind of like, sure, it can't have been that bad, but it's fatiguing. Like
absolutely.
Fatiguing.
And again, that's something that you can't really appreciate it when you're watching it on telly. I'm sure something like some of the real fans know about it, but when you've been in there and like you're really squeezing on something, let's say whether you're going for a choke or going for a triangle submission or anything like that, and then you walk back to the corner like in between rounds, and everything just feels heavy. And then for someone like myself who likes to strike, I want to be nice and loose, and I want to have pop in the shots. So that's why your conditioning for MMA needs to be at such a good level, because like you said, you're going from striking. Someone could take you down and really wear on you. You need to be prepared to grapple, get back up, and strike again, so from striking to grappling, back to striking. So that's something that we always make sure that we have good before the fights. Like the 8 weeks leading up, we're like hammering the assault bike out of it. We're doing a lot of conditioning work. I do find that helps with the fights, definitely.
Yeah, because I think maybe it comes from like the boxing image that, when guys start to hold, it's like they're looking for a break. And then I think that can kind of sometimes maybe come into MMA when you see a bit of grappling on the cage, or you see it's like, that's not tiring, they're just taking a break, when it is fatiguing. It does take it out of.
Exactly. That's why when I look at the likes of, obviously Khabib, is probably the main man that you have to talk about there. Like when I look at his level of grappling, I'm almost like, how is he keeping that pace up for? Now I know he's been grappling his whole life, so that's probably why. But like he keeps that pace up for round after round, and they're 5-minute rounds, and it's just a crazy pace. Like, so that's why he's the best in the world. He's got the technique to go with it, and he's crazy conditioned as well.
I think you even saw that in the Poirier fight. Poirier obviously had the guillotine, and then he was he was done after. Like he was shot. Like he was.
Oh, he burned his arms out, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. And then
Yeah.
Khabib then was still fresh to be able to
Yeah.
get to carry on and get the finish. So you see, even
It
see
was
it there.
weird.
Like,
I almost thought he had him with that guillotine.
I thought he did too. I thought he was going to go out.
Yeah.
It was like, but there was a moment where you weren't sure if he had it. It was like he attempted it, and then you're like, oh, that's not in. And then you were kind of like, oh, wait, it is in.
I seen Khabib sort of panicking with the arms, like trying to get out, and I was like, oh, hang on, he's in this, you know.
But then he kind of stepped around a small bit, didn't he? He kind of shifted his feet to it took a bit of pressure off.
I think he turned to the side like this, which gave him a bit of air to breathe, and then, like you said, Dustin just burned his arms out. So that was that. I have to ask you, who do you have for him and Tony?
Tony. I think I've been saying for a while that I think Tony's the only person that can beat him. I think standing up, I think that the pressure game going forward, I think he's a better striker, and I think off his back he's dangerous off his back. So
listen, Tony has all the tools to beat, you know. I think his striking is a little bit better, and then, you know, I've no doubt Khabib will probably get him down, but it's what Tony's going to do off his back. He's going to throw up submissions. He's going to elbow him from the bottom. And I just think Khabib's probably never felt – it's likewise. Like Tony's probably never faced a good grappler, and Khabib has never faced someone as good on their back or striking. And plus, you know, when you talk about conditioning and pace, I think that nobody has as good as pace as Tony does, you know?
He gets stronger. Like he just – like you see the fight against Cowboy – he kind of he started slow enough in the first round. Still probably won it, but then it just like got picked up the pace. He kept coming forward. He just
grew into it, didn't he?
Yeah, and you see he did the same to Pettis. Like was just walked in down. So I think come the fourth or fifth round, obviously if it goes that far, I think Tony will be the stronger. Especially because you've seen Khabib like tire against Ally Quinn, and even against McGregor, like he lost the third round and then came back strong in the fourth round. But definitely does tire. So I think if that happens against Tony, I think Tony will take it. But like
my initial thought was Khabib by decision, 5-round decision. I thought Khabib was going to get him down and be able to control him there. And although Tony would be dangerous off his back, Khabib would sort of, you know, eventually pass the legs and just cement the top position. But as me and Adam the other day, because like we have cabin fever in the house, we watched Khabib's last 3 fights and Tony's last 3 fights, and then we're like, right now let's make a prediction. I don't know, man. Maybe Tony.
Yeah, I think Tony. Well, I can't step off it now because I'm saying for years, like at about the third time this fight was made, I was saying, I think Tony wins. So I'm sticking on it.
Yeah, I don't know what the latest is with location. Last thing I heard, Dana White was saying that like it's going ahead. It's going to be done behind closed doors somewhere, but
he said
it is going ahead.
He said yesterday they've decided on a location, but they haven't said where. But like I don't know. Did you see? I've seen it was a Daniel Cormier was on Ariel Helwani show, and he was saying, "Take them to China. Now China is the safest place to be."
It's crazy, isn't it?
We'll stop around. We'll collect all the fighters from the card, and we'll take them to China.
Yeah,
and we'll fight there. It's crazy. Yeah, it's the safest place to be.
Speaking of DC, I think him and Stipe are doing that trilogy fight, aren't they?
Yeah, DC said that's the last one. He's fight Stipe. Obviously, in his mind, going to win, retain the heavyweight title, and then retire. Well, that's another one I can't wait. That's a good fight. There's just so many fights that can't wait.
It's crazy.
But it was Brendan Schaub was saying on his podcast last week that this could actually turn out to be great because all the cards will be stacked for the rest of the year. When they do eventually get back to fight, like all these fights will still have to happen.
That's true, actually, yeah.
So it could be crazy. It could be 2 title fights every card.
Brilliant. Well, I'd be down with that.
Same. I was a bit disappointed. I was disappointed though with the Adesanya fight and Romero. Like,
do you know what? I only caught it last week. I didn't watch it at the time, and then it got put up onto Fight Pass, and I watched it. You know, I think Adesanya played the game that not that he had to play, but he played the safe game. And I sort of don't blame him for that. Like, I'm sort of split, my opinion's split on this a little bit. So, you know, the first things first is Adesanya's going out there and he needs to win, right? Like, sort of the main priority to him is winning. The second priority is putting on a show, you know, but the main thing is winning. So sometimes, you know, we know ourselves from, if you've ever been in Thai Taekwondo matches, Thai kickboxing matches, the win isn't going to always look pretty, you know, but sometimes it just has to be done. If you're against the likes of Romero, who's a ridiculous, like, he got serious power and he can KO you at any time. So I think you have to play a little bit safe with someone like that. But that being said, they're prize fighters and they're there to put on a show. So that's the flip side to it. But yeah, it was a bit of a snore fest, I'll be honest.
But see, I also think though that there's a thing, the emphasis is on Romero to push. He's the challenger for the title. So if you want to be champion, and like, he has to know, like, he's fought for the belt, what, 2-3 times? That was his third time, I think, fighting for the championship. So like, he had to push to try and get the win. Not maybe get the finish, but get a win. He didn't throw many shots, and he didn't even try and really grapple. Maybe, like, how many times did he try and get, like 2 or 3 times? He actually
something like that. He didn't look like he was putting it all on the line. Yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah, and so he has to, like, he's not getting a shot, but not as long as Adesanya has the belt. If Robert Whittaker picks up the belt again at some stage, he's not going to get a shot against him. So what's he going to do? Like, he's pretty much done, really, in terms of a title push, and pretty much that's how he went out. You know, I think he should have really pushed on. Well, like that, I was a bit disappointed because I thought Adesanya would knock him out in about round 4. Yeah, because like Romero does start slow at times, and he kind of tries to lull you into the, you know, he's kind of like he's sleepy, and then he explodes.
Exactly.
So I thought then maybe he might walk into something with Adesanya. So Adesanya might get him late, but it was a little bit disappointing because Adesanya's probably my favorite fighter at the moment.
He's up there with me as well. Yeah, you know, especially for me, I'm like, you know, it's good to see a striker who's made it all the way to UFC champion. So like that's I obviously categorize myself as a striker, you know, and let's face it, to be honest, it's been mainly wrestlers that have been cleaning up, you know, wrestlers and grapplers that have been, like, I remember at one stage, like, Cejudo had the 2 belts. He's a wrestler. Khabib, Cormier, you know, all the lads were really grapple heavy. So it's like, it's good, nice seeing the lads of
Woodley and Usman had the belt. You know,
you said that again.
Woodley and then Usman has the belt. They're 2 wrestlers.
Exactly. Yeah. Holloway as well. He'd be one of my favorites.
Yeah, I thought.
I love watching Holloway.
I don't. I like Holloway, but I had him. I picked him to lose against Poirier, and
did you?
Yeah, it's not because I don't like him or anything. I thought Dustin would beat him. I thought the step up away, because he was a strange one when he stepped up. He didn't really he didn't build himself into the division. He was like a 145-pound fighter. He was like a featherweight who just like didn't cut to lightweight.
True.
Whereas the lightweights, like, you know, are obviously over 155 and cutting down. And I think it kind of showed that when Poirier landed those solid punches, he wasn't able to absorb them because they weren't the same weight. Like, they were 2 different weight divisions, I think.
I find that as well. Like, even on the domestic shows, there's a huge difference between featherweight and lightweight. And like, some people might say like, there's only like 10 pounds, but I see it a bit differently. It's like, when you go over lightweight, you're sort of considered a big guy, you know, like, sort of like, you know, in terms of like the general person, you know, like, or a male, like, let's say when you go over 70 kilos, you're sort of in the big category. So I think so many people who are like big lads, they don't want to be fighting the big lads, you know, so they're cutting a lot of weight to get under that 70 kilogram limit. So I find like the lightweights are huge, and then the featherweights are sort of like they're big, like, but they're normal size, if you get what I'm saying.
I get you, 100%, yeah.
So safe to say, I won't be moving to lightweight anytime soon.
No rush. You never know now. This coronavirus, you know, once you get,
maybe
Domino's keep delivering.
I checked my weight. When was it? Yesterday morning. I'm floating in and around the 72 mark, so I'm doing fine. Like, you know, I can make 66 on one week notice, you know. So like, I think I'll see my days out at 66. because I think I'm not cutting too much. Like at one stage I was thinking 135, but that'd be way too much to
It's down to
cut.
61,
And then
isn't it?
lightweight, I think I'd be way too small for the division. So featherweight's just right. It's in the middle for me.
Yeah. Like that as well. Adam's at lightweight, so it's kind of good then as you're kind of separate.
Yeah, you don't want to be in the same division. I wouldn't want to have to put him out like that,
He's always playing catch up, those couple of months you had.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, bang on.
So before obviously all this kind of kicked in and you can't leave the house, what was the training schedule looking like? Like how many times in a day?
It was very busy. Like, so I was trying my best to count the sessions. I usually didn't do that before, but I was trying to, because I was planning out my weeks better, so I was able to actually keep count of the sessions. They were looking like in between 13 and 14 sessions a week, so on average, like 2 a day every day. So it's like, it was busy for me because I'm in college Monday to Friday. So I'm off Wednesdays actually. But I'm in college during the days, most of the days. And then me and Adam have the club as well on a Monday and Wednesday. And we have for a little while on a Friday as well. So it's just pretty much when I'm not in college or I'm not doing the club, we're training, and Wednesday is a really busy day for us because we do a session in the afternoon, then we go to the club. And then when we finish the club, we go straight out to Swords for 8 o'clock. So there's a lot of moving around, and, they're hectic weeks, but, we always just say, listen, if we want to have the club and we want to compete at this level, it has to be done, and we love, sorry for anyone that doesn't know, me and Adam have a Taekwondo club that we run. I say it's in its early stages, but it's definitely getting there. We have a few competing at the competitions now this last year, and they're really looking good now. But I just love, so I'm learning, and then we're teaching pretty much similar stuff back to our guys. We always say, we don't really teach in the Taekwondo fashion anymore. We teach martial arts, so it's a mixture of everything. There's a bit of Taekwondo, kickboxing, boxing in there, a bit of everything,
Yeah.
Just now knees and elbows.
And the club, it is often a slow build. You want to get to the point where you have people on the national team, but you have to
exactly.
You have to kind of put in the hours and the time before that to get the people there, and
definitely.
It's not necessarily. It's not like maybe the people in the club, the students necessarily don't necessarily maybe want to go to the national team. So you kind of have to takes time to get them to maybe to that level, and then they have to want
exactly
to well. And
that's something that we sort of recognize early on. We're like, hang on, not everybody that's training wants to be competitive or compete on the national team. When you think about it, it's a quite select few that end up going all the way through. So you need to be able to accommodate for all categories, all walks of life,
Yeah. And with with that many sessions, and what's kind of the breakdown in terms of maybe cardio or strength and conditioning? And because I know you were been working with Luke Woods and stuff. So
yeah, that's right. So Luke Woods does all our strength and conditioning sessions. We get in about coming up to fights, we get 2 in a week with Luke, and Luke's been absolutely brilliant through all this, because not only does he help us with S&C, but he's also a couple months back when we started with him, he went through this whole mobility program with us, and I've been finding that even before when I was doing Taekwondo, I'm more flexible now than I've ever been, more mobile and things like that. Even for when we're running, doing weights and grappling, if you just do that, if you did them 3 things, you'd be strong, but you'd be very, very tight, so that's why Luke goes through a lot of mobility and stretching with us to keep us loose and supple, because at the end of the day, our style is suited to that, to be loose. And so, we need to still be kicking high and things like that. So Luke's been brilliant for all that. So the breakdown, pretty much 2 strength and conditioning sessions a week, try get a run in a week, and then the rest is pretty much out in Swords in Team KF. Now, not all the sessions would be hard sessions. We changed it up between sparring technique sessions and drilling sessions. So usually about 3 of each, 3 technique, 3 drill, 3 spar. Yeah.
Three sparring sessions a week.
In and around there. And again, like, they won't all be, heavy MMA sparring. Like, we spar once, we spar like on a Saturday, we do our MMA sparring. Now that's the heavy duty sparring. You only come to that class if you're a fighter and you don't mind taking a few hits, because that's our one day in the week where we spar quite hard.
Yeah.
During the weekend, we might do like positional sparring, where that's like maybe a position against the wall. For instance, you could be on your back, against the wall, and someone's on top of you, and basically you just have to get to your feet. It's a scenario, and so that would be a type of sparring as well. And then we might we take a pick between a few just kickboxing rounds during the week, or just rolling rounds during the week, something like that.
And it's nearly all no-gi jiu-jitsu you're doing, is it? Because obviously that translates.
Mainly. My New Year's resolution for this year was to actually do more training in the gi, and I got back into it a little bit, but like, again, because of this whole situation, everything's on lockdown, so the gym is closed. But when this all stops, I'm going to get back to be doing at least 1 gi class a week. Ideally, I'd like 2, but for now, probably just be 1. Especially coming up to fights, I'll just do 1. But I've been getting a ton of no gi grappling in. Like, Chris is the MMA coach out in Swords, but Tom King as well is the jiu-jitsu coach. And Tom's a black belt. He's been a black belt a long time, and his level and technical ability in jiu-jitsu it's second to none. I've never actually seen anything quite like it at that level. It's my first sort of grappling instructor to have, and he's absolutely amazing. And I think another thing that's really good about Tom is he's still actively competing. So
I'd be on Twitter and there last year, and nearly it felt like every weekend he was like, oh yeah, another gold medal picked up here this weekend. Yeah. I was like, gee, he seems to just compete every week.
He's competing all the time, and I think his idea behind it is like, so like the things that he's teaching us, like he's on the front line competing. He's seeing what's working, what's not working, coming back to us and relaying that information. So, I know the information that we're getting off him. It's stuff that works, and it's stuff that's very relevant as well. So Tom's a brilliant coach.
And in terms of sparring, then how does is there just everybody comes along and you spar, like, from, like you said, maybe the bantamweights fight with the light heavyweights, or is it kind of divided down? Like, kind of you guys will go over here, the bigger guys will go there, or does it go like, oh, you guys come at this time to the gym and other guys will come, the heavier guys maybe to a later time? Or
yeah. So what's happened recently is, especially in the last couple of months to a year, the gym is after really grown in size, and the MMA team in particular. So what Chris has done now is he'd be like maybe lightweights and under are training at. So like we'd all rock up to train the whole team, but let's say lightweights and under are on now, and we do all our rounds, and then the welterweights and higher are on now, because like I said, the team is big enough to do that now, so the likes of Ian, Gary and James and all, sure, I learned from sparring the lads, but let's be honest, the lads could just ragdoll me if they wanted, so I do train with them the odd time, like in the classes, but I never it's actually quite rare where I'd spar the lads, I'm always sparring. The heavy side spar is like lightweight to welterweight, so and then I'd spar with for some reason in our gym, it's funny, we have a bunch of bantamweights and featherweights, like we have a lot around that, like myself included. We have a lot of lads there, and then lightweights we have a couple, Adam and 1 or 2 others, and then we get more than welterweight, middle, light, heavy. There's a good few of them as well, so it's sort of perfect for me and it's perfect for them. Adam's somewhere in the middle, so sometimes Adam just gets thrown in with the bigger lads,
It's obviously when you turn up to like a squad session for Taekwondo, you could spar. Everybody just spars everybody, and because like that, it's only 2 minutes, and it's like you can get away with sparring the bigger guys for
exactly. Yeah, so we know the pace is a little bit different there.
Yeah, you have to be a bit. I think you have to be a bit more structured with your MMA sparring and where you get your rounds, because like that. Yeah.
Now that being said, like every now and then, let's say if we're just doing a sort of easy session or something like that, if we're doing a bit of light sparring, like Chris will jump in and spar me. You know, that's the thing with him, and that's why he's so good. Like, because he's never out of training for so long. Like, be it like he's still jumping into the positional sessions with like James and Ian and things like that. So that's why when he announced his comeback, everyone was like, Chris Fields is coming back. But like, to us, it was just like, he's training day in and day out in the gym. It makes sense for him to come back because he's still razor sharp, and I actually think he's gotten better over the last year because just things that he's trying out with, he's just getting better in the gym again. So it's brilliant.
Yeah, I suppose he's had that layoff where he hasn't had the pressure to maybe get ready for a fight. It's just like that jumping in, just try and improve, try stuff out. It's
exactly, yeah. Like that's a good time, and it's not a long time that most fighters have, because most fighters are thinking, fight and then have a little rest in between, and then it's like, when's my next fight? But with Chris, he's teaching the gym, he's coaching the lads, but he's also trying a lot of things out. So he had time to improve his own game. And so that's why I was so looking forward to seeing him now next month. But, so again, when all this blows over, I can't wait to see him in action.
Yeah, because I'd love to see him I would love to. Maybe hopefully it still happens on the UFC Dublin card, because like he was obviously in the Ultimate Fighter and was so close to making it, and maybe should have been on the card. So especially when you saw the other guys made the cut the last time, and like that Cage Warriors champion. Like, there's guys who haven't got that pedigree who've been taken to the UFC. So I think it'd be great if he got to go into the card.
Big time. He's been there and done that, and like we say, he's an OG of Irish MMA. He's been there from the start with all the lads.
And like that'd be great if I was just thinking, even if it worked out that Ian was on the card as well, like if you could have maybe
that would be good, wouldn't it?
Or yeah, it would be good, yeah. Or
yeah,
I hope to say maybe James Webb doesn't get picked up by then as well. Like, so you could have a couple of guys from the gym on the card.
Exactly. So that's why there's so many. The three lads, like, so Chris, James, Ian, like they're thereabouts. I think for Ian, maybe Ian's gonna have a couple more fights. I'm not too sure what the story is, but he's 3-0, and I think he'd like to have a few more. But then again, if they came knocking, I know for a fact Ian wouldn't say no. I can tell you now that he'd be on that like a light. But I don't know. We'll just have to see what happens there.
And what did you make of the main event they were looking at for the Dublin card?
So that was Robert Whittaker and Darren Till, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's a serious main event.
Savage fight. Because
if you're asking prediction, I'm saying Darren Till.
I think so too. That would be my initial pick.
Yeah.
Would be Darren Till.
Don't get me wrong, I love Whittaker. Like, he's a real I always say about Whittaker, he's an honest fighter. He doesn't doesn't do the whole trash talking part. He just gets in and he puts it on the line every time. I think Till's gonna be a little bit too sharp on him. He's got sort of that Adesanya style where like he'll be taller than Whittaker and a little bit longer with the reach, so I think he'll be able to keep him out at distance. I see it going a couple of rounds. I don't see Till getting him out of there early, but I definitely see Till definitely getting the win there.
Yeah, I think Till would definitely have the. I think he definitely have the advantages early. I think if it starts to go a bit later, I think Whittaker might come into it. But but even like, I would imagine like Till's a bigger guy than Adesanya. Yeah, I would imagine he would have more power than Adesanya.
Yeah.
So I think that could play a part. And even he leg kicks a bit more, I think, as well than kind of Adesanya.
He does. Personally, I'd love to see Darren Till and Adesanya.
That'd be a good fight. A good stand-up match.
Yeah. Then again, though, I'm sort of thinking it could be almost like Till and Wonderboy, because the both of them are very high-level strikers. They could almost cancel each other out a little bit, and it could be a little bit standoffish. But I'm not too sure. I'd love to see them just both going at it, but I don't know. It'd be a good fight to see.
So I think Adesanya comes from the more full contact kickboxing, whereas right. Wonderboy has the very point style sideways stance. Sure. I think Adesanya would look to engage a bit more. Yeah,
it would be an interesting one.
Wonderboy is exciting, but it kind of his style, because it's that sideways, it can be sometimes safety first. Like he doesn't he doesn't like sit in the pocket to counter. It's kind of he'll make you miss and then pop back straight away.
I think for Wonderboy style to be really effective, he needs people to come at him, you know,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
he sits in that L stance a little bit and he's got that lead leg light. And when people come at him, he's just going to pick them apart. No, like I would not advise anybody just charging him, you know, but when we look at the people who beat him, like Till and Woodley beating that time, they were sort of standoff with him. And then when they do come in, they sort of explode in, you know. So I think that's the little gap with Wonderboy style. But that being said, he's very good at what he does, you know.
yeah. He had a fight scheduled there recently, didn't he? I think it's cancelled now. Who was he down to
I
fight?
think so. But last I heard, I think they were trying to set up him and Colby Covington. That'd be good.
Ah, that's the one. I think. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. And then
Because he was at the FightCon and he said that he'd like to do that, the FightCon Ireland thing down in Cork.
that's where I heard
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
like to
But
see that.
they were talking to Covington and Woodley with
Oh, that'd be a nice one as well.
with Leon Edwards out. They had a bit of a last week, a bit of a spat back and forth. I'd love to see that
Yeah,
fight as well. So you're talking before we finish up. You're talking one more amateur fight and then pro end of the year. Is that the plan?
That's the plan. So again, you know, we don't know when everything's going to go back to normal. Provided that, hopefully, it does sharpish. I'd like a fight maybe June or July, amateur fight, and provided I win that, then turn pro soon, and then probably, you know, have a fight with Cage Warriors by the end of the year and sign to them. Again, if everything went well, that's how I see it going. And then from there, it's just a matter of, you know, you're at the bottom of the mountain and the Cage Warriors belt is at the top. You know, it's on you then. You know, if you beat everybody in your way, you're going to get there eventually. It's quite a good talent pool in Cage Warriors. You know, that's one thing. I'm glued to every single show that's on. I'm watching all the fights and it's a pretty high level. I haven't seen anything yet where I'm like, I'm not near that level yet. You know, I think I'm there, and especially by coming into the end of this year, into next year, I definitely think I'm going to be there.
Savage. So, well, actually, two more questions. So, just a quick fire.
No, but fire away.
Favorite fighter of all time? Any sport? Any martial art?
Floyd Mayweather.
Floyd Mayweather. Any particular reason?
Purely
or does Floyd Mayweather speak for itself?
Floyd Mayweather speak for itself, but I'll give a few reasons. The defensive skill that he's displayed over his whole career. Like, I just find him, like, sure, like, we all love a barn burner of a fight. Like, don't get me wrong, we all love seeing people swing down. But, like, seeing Mayweather slip and roll shots, I could watch it 24 hours a day. Like, I literally wouldn't get tired of watching it. It's amazing. And, like, I can recognize the amount of time that's gone into that. Secondly, how long his career has gone and, like, how dominant he's been over the years. Like, so I think he started his pro career in 96, and that went right through till, I suppose, the McGregor fight, if you want to count that as well. But he's been dominant. Don't get me wrong, he's been pushed over the years. You know, a few very close calls. Maidana, De La Hoya. You know, he's had some very close fights over the years. But there's never actually been a fight where I'm like, oh no, he didn't win that. He's won every single one. I'm confident of that. And yeah, just the pure dominance and how he did it. That's why. And
last one. So, favorite fight of all time? Again, any sport, any martial art.
I seen someone had that up. Was that? I think Johnny Duggan had that up recently.
Got me thinking.
Got you thinking.
So yeah, so
right. I have a few candidates here.
I know, that's why I wanted to ask.
Anderson Silva and Michael Bisping is up there.
Okay, different.
Very good. Lawler McDonald, the second one.
Okay, yeah,
that's definitely up there. What else? Can I pick a boxing fight as well?
Any fight, any sport, any match.
Okay, Hagler Hearns. Did you ever see that one?
Yeah, 3 rounds. Yeah.
Even though it only lasted 3 rounds, the war they call that one. I remember my dad showing me that fight when I was about 12, and like I love that fight ever since. And I go back and just watch it every now and then. Do you know why I love that fight so much? It's because Hagler and Hearns, that was scheduled to be a 15-round fight. Yeah. And Hagler came out like the fight was going to last 2 minutes. You know, he just came out to absolutely destroy him. And I just thought, like, he was so gutsy to go out and do that, because, like, if he hadn't have been able to finish Hearns, surely he was going to get finished because nobody could keep that pace up.
Then he got the cut.
He got the cut as well, but
they were
he
going to
just
stop
had
it
it in his
cut.
mind. Yeah, he just had it in his mind that he was going to finish him first. And it was just that kill or be killed attitude, and he got it done. So that's why I love that fight. Another one of my fights, and you know, a lot of people are always like, that's a bit, you know, that's an easy one. But McGregor and Diaz, the second fight.
Yeah, it's up
I love that one
because,
and mainly because when you look at what Nate did to Conor only in the March previous, you know, like I think the easy option there for someone was, you know, oh no, I'm fighting, but like it's not going to happen for like a year. I'm going to have it down at 155, everything to suit McGregor. But he was like, no, he did it. So April, May, like 5 months after, the guts of 5 months at the same weight, you know. So I thought that was very gutsy by McGregor, and again in a 5-round war, which he came out on top of. So that's definitely up there for me as well.
And if you have to pick one,
Hagler and Hearns.
Nice.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
For me, I would have picked for boxing. It would be. I have to I have a lot, but I had Morales and Barrera won.
I've seen that one. That's a good one.
Great fight.
Yeah.
And Shogun and Dan Henderson won.
Well, have you seen the two of them? Two of them are amazing.
I've seen the second one, but the first one, it would have been my favorite. Like the fights you named there, they would be up there. I have a lot of boxing. Like I'd have Julio Cesar Chavez and Meldrick Taylor won. I love that fight. Castillo Corrales won. Have you seen that one?
No, I haven't seen that one.
Diego Corrales. You can pass the time today if you have Diego Corrales.
Oh, I will. Yeah, I've got plenty of time.
Jose Luis Castillo. Well, watch that fight. Great fight. Fight. So that's up there as well. So like that, yeah. But yeah.
Do you know what I'll get you to do? Write me a list of 4 or 5. Send them on. I'm going to watch them. Yeah,
I have a list on my phone of a couple, but I will send them on after. And so anyway, Ryan, it's we'll finish up there. It's been a pleasure to have you on. We spoke
Thanks
about
a million, Jamie. Cheers for having me on. Happy to do it.
Is there any place, like in terms of social media, where people could find you to give you a follow?
Like if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's Ryan Shelley 96, and I'm not on Twitter or anything like that. I wouldn't be a big social media head, but if you want to follow on Instagram, you can. Yeah.
All right, no worries. Thanks a million, Ryan.
Thanks a million, Jamie.
Take care. All the best.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.